Picture this. You open your banking app, and instead of that familiar gut punch of dread, you actually smile. No mental gymnastics, no quietly calculating whether that grocery run means ramen for the next 2 weeks, no instinctively closing the app before the number finishes loading. That shift is real, and it happens at a specific dollar amount. $1 million? No. 6 figures? Not even close. The number is $20,000, and the science behind why that number rewires your entire relationship with money, that's exactly what we're breaking down today on Dollar Decoded. Here's something most personal finance content won't tell you, because honestly, it's a little uncomfortable. When you have little to no savings, your brain isn't just stressed, it's operating in a fundamentally different mode. Psychologists call it scarcity mindset, and this isn't self-help fluff. It's been documented in peer-reviewed research. A landmark 2013 study published in Science, one of the most respected journals in the world, by researchers Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir, found that financial scarcity consumes your cognitive bandwidth, roughly equivalent to losing 13 IQ points. That's not a metaphor, that's a measurable reduction in your actual ability to think clearly and plan ahead. So when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're not just financially stressed, your brain is literally less equipped to make good decisions. You take the first job offer that comes along because you can't afford to wait. You stay in situations you hate because leaving feels too risky. You say yes to things you don't want to do because you need the money. Every financial decision is made in reaction mode, not strategy mode. And here's the number that makes this real. According to the Federal Reserve's 2023 report on the economic well-being of U.S. households, not some blog, the actual Fed, 37% of Americans could not cover a $400 unexpected expense with cash or its equivalent. Nearly 4 in 10 people are one car repair away from a financial spiral. That's not a savings problem, that's a cognitive problem. Because when you're that close to the edge, your brain can't think about wealth. It's too busy just trying to survive. So what makes $20,000 the number? Why not $10,000? Why not $50,000? Every major financial institution, the CFP Board, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, recommends keeping 3 to 6 months of living expenses as an emergency buffer. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household spends roughly $5,111 per month. Do the math. 3 to 6 months of that lands squarely between $15,000 and $30,000. $20,000 sits right in the middle of that target zone. But the shift isn't just practical, it's neurological. Research from the FINRA Investor Education Foundation, that's the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, the body that oversees U.S. broker-dealers, found that people with even a modest emergency fund report significantly higher financial well-being scores. Not because they're suddenly rich, but because they've removed the threat response from their financial decision-making. Vanguard's own research backs this up. Households with an adequate financial cushion are measurably more likely to stay invested during market downturns, instead of panic selling at exactly the wrong moment. Once your brain stops operating in survival mode, it unlocks something it couldn't access before, the ability to think about growth. Here's where the math gets genuinely exciting, and I want to be specific because vague numbers are useless. Let's model this with real assumptions. You're saving $1,000 a month, which, yes, requires discipline, but it's a realistic target for a household with median U.S. income. And you're earning an average annual return of 8%, which is actually below the S&P 500's historical average of approximately 10.7% since 1957 per Macrotrends data. We're being conservative on purpose. Getting to your first $20,000? About 19 months. Your second $20,000? About 17 months. Your third? 15 months. Same savings rate, same investment strategy, same level of risk, but the timeline keeps shrinking. Why? Because that first $20,000 is now generating its own returns alongside your monthly contributions. Your money started doing part of the work for you. That is compound interest, not as a concept, but as something you can actually feel in your timeline. Here's the number I want you to sit with. Once your portfolio reaches $400,000, earning that same 8% annually, you're generating $32,000 a year without touching it. That's roughly $2,600 every single month, passively. For context, that's above the US median household monthly income. You didn't earn that through labor. Your money earned it for you. And here's the part most people completely sleep on. It's not about access to exotic investments. It's about scale. A 10% return on $2,000 is $200. Fine, whatever. A 10% return on $20,000 is $2,000. Same S&P 500 index fund, same brokerage account, same everything. Completely different result. Saving $20,000 from zero isn't just an accomplishment, it's evidence. It proves to you, not to anyone else, that you can delay gratification over a sustained period, that you can make real trade-offs, that you can control your money instead of your money controlling you. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that one of the strongest predictors of long-term wealth accumulation isn't income, it's savings rate consistency. People who save regularly, even modest amounts, build dramatically more wealth over a lifetime than high earners who spend impulsively. That $20,000 didn't just change your balance sheet, it changed your identity. You became the type of person who saves, and that identity shapes every financial decision you make from here forward. Here's exactly how this plays out in real life. Before $20,000, your car needs $900 in repairs. That's a crisis. You pull out a credit card. Your whole month is derailed. You feel behind for weeks. After $20,000, your car needs $900 in repairs. Annoying. You pay it. You replenish the account over the next few weeks. You move on. The dollar amount of the repair is identical. Your relationship to it has completely changed. Now let me tell you about something most finance channels completely skip over, what $20,000 does to your career. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you are a captive employee. Your employer, consciously or not, holds leverage over you. You can't push back on unreasonable demands. You can't negotiate aggressively. You can't afford to explore other options. And the worst part? Your desperation is visible. People can feel it, and it costs you. According to the Pew Research Center, workers who voluntarily switch jobs earn an average of 8.5% more at their new position than those who stay put. But making that move, taking time to interview properly, potentially being between jobs briefly, that requires financial runway. That runway is exactly what $20,000 gives you. Economists call this your reservation wage, the minimum compensation you'd accept to take a job. When your savings hit $20,000, your reservation wage goes up because you can genuinely afford to wait for the right offer. That changes your entire negotiating posture. You're no longer asking for a raise from a position of need, you're asking from a position of choice. And here's what's almost funny about it. You often don't even use the money. Just having it changes how you show up at work. More confident, more direct, more willing to take on challenging projects because you're not afraid of the consequences anymore. And when you show up differently, people notice. Better assignments, more recognition, more money. It becomes a positive feedback loop that accelerates over time. All right, I have to be straight with you here. Reaching $20,000 is exactly when most people blow it. The psychological security kicks in, the discipline relaxes, and suddenly that reward purchase starts to feel justified. A new car, hey, you've been so disciplined. A vacation, you earned it. A house that stretches the budget just a little too thin, well, real estate is always a good investment, right? Don't do this. That $20,000 is not a trophy. It is the foundation of your entire financial future. The average new car in the United States costs $48,247 as of 2024. That's straight from Kelley Blue Book. Factor in insurance, maintenance, fuel, and financing interest. And according to AAA's annual Your Driving Costs study, the average American is spending between $700 and $900 per month just on transportation. Over 40 years, that's between $336,000 and $432,000, much of it financed, meaning you're paying interest on top of depreciation. And per Carfax data, new vehicles lose roughly 20% of their value in the first year alone. Now flip that same $800 a month into a diversified index portfolio at 8% annually for 40 years. $2.8 million. That's not a fantasy scenario. That's a compound interest calculator with realistic conservative inputs.
The car payment feels like success. The investment account is success. The person driving a 4-year-old paid-off Honda isn't losing. They're quietly funding a future that the person in the brand-new lease can't even see yet. Once you cross that $20,000 threshold, one more shift happens, and this one changes how you see every major decision for the rest of your life. Before this milestone, most financial decisions come down to one question: can I afford the monthly payment? And that is a dangerous framework, because monthly payments are specifically designed to hide the true cost of almost everything. After $20,000, you start thinking in opportunity cost. Not obsessively, not in a way that sucks the joy out of living, but strategically. A $30,000 purchase today, assuming an 8% average annual return that you're giving up, represents approximately $139,000 in 20 years. That is the actual price tag, and that's the lens wealthy people apply automatically, because at some point in their journey, someone made them calculate it. This doesn't mean you never spend money on things you enjoy. It means you become intentional. You spend freely on what genuinely matters to you. You cut without guilt on what doesn't. And that clarity, knowing the real cost of what you're choosing, is one of the most liberating things $20,000 in savings quietly teaches you. And honestly, once you start thinking this way, you often realize you didn't actually want half the stuff you thought you did. That bigger apartment? The extra space would be nice, but is it worth delaying financial independence by 5 years? For most people, when they actually do the math, the answer is no. Look, $20,000 is not financial independence. It's not even close to the finish line, but it is the start of a completely different game. It's the point where your brain shifts from scarcity to strategy, where your money starts working alongside you instead of against you, where compound interest stops being a textbook formula and starts being a number you can actually watch grow. The people building real, lasting wealth aren't doing it with secret strategies or exclusive access. They're doing it by crossing this first threshold and then not stopping. Start there, protect it when you get there, and let it compound. If this gave you a new way of thinking about money, hit subscribe, because this is exactly what we do here at Decoded every week. No fluff, no filler, just the real mechanics of how money actually works, backed by data, not opinions. I'll see you in the next one.